بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الأول بلا أول كان قبله، والآخر بلا آخر يكون بعده، الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين، وعجزت عن نعمته أوهام الواصفين، وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين. ابتدع بقدرته الخلق ابتداعا، واخترعهم على مشيته اختراعا، ثم سلك بهم طريق إرادته، وبعثهم في سبيل محبته، لا يملكون تأخيرا عما قدمهم إليه، ولا يستطيعون تقدما إلى ما أخرهم عنه. والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيد بريته أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد والأصفياء من عترته الطيبين الطاهرين. أما بعد، أوصيكم عباد الله بتقوى الله ونظم أمركم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Respected scholars, my dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yet, it is another Jum'ah and it is another opportunity to have reflection and to think about our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That whether we are mindful enough in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. Whether we are considering Him in our individual lives or not. Whether we are considering Him and remembering Him when it comes to our society or not. So it is another opportunity that if we are not considering Him, if we are not remembering Him, we are here to again reflect on this thing and recall Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His teachings, because a manifestation, an image inside a mirror cannot have any independence except through the owner of the image. And the owner of the image right now in relation to this dunya is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in each and every moment of our lives, we have to become a manifestation and a reflection of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something which we call it as the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For today's discussion, I have selected another topic which is in a broader level when it comes to the discussions of religion. Some days back, I have discussed the topic of sakhawa. The sakhawa is, though it is a religious concept, but it is also being considered and it is an attribute for the people who are not practically religious. The same way, for today's discussion, I have selected the topic of futuwah, topic of futuwat, or sometimes also called muruwah. Different versions are there. Some people call it muru'ah, some people call it muruwah. हम लोग की उर्दू में भी इसको मुरुव्वत कहते हैं. This is a trait, this is an attribute that is on a level which is not a religious level. What do I mean by this? I mean, sometimes you have some attributes which are religious attributes. For example, becoming a musalli, doing your prayers, performing your prayers, having your fastings, doing your khums, performing your hajj, zakat, etc. These are the attributes which are considered as religious attributes. But sometimes, in especially ethics and moralities, we have some moral attributes which are considered as the moral attribute which is beyond the religious activities or religious attributes. That means, even if somebody is not a religious person, if he is not a practical, let's say Muslim or a Christian or any follower of any other religion, still he or she can have this attribute as one of the traits or virtues in their life. One of these examples is the example of futuwah. Let me recite a verse of Quran over here to initiate the discussion. In chapter Kahf, verse number 13, we recite, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم نحن نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى. So here we see the word of fitya is there. Approximately 7 or 8 times the discussion of fata or fitya is there in Quran. All of them are having the same meaning of futuwa. I'm just going to explain it after a bit. What was interesting for me was that when I was going through the discussions, I saw in some ahadith, this discussion is there that caught my eye, that a rizq of a person, the provision that a person has, is based on the level of futuwah that this person is having. So this caught my eye. That what is this futuwah? That is defining the level of your rizq. How much provision you will get in your life is dependent on how much futuwah you are having. So what is this futuwah? Maybe if you want to increase the level of your rizq, you have to increase the level of futuwah in your life, the level of muruwah in your life. So what is this futuwah? Before entering into the meaning of this futuwah, let me add this as well over here, that the futuwah is an attribute which is not having only one aspect in it. Sometimes you are having an attribute, a trait, which is having only one aspect. Let's say a person is truthful, a sadiq person. A sadiq person is only having this aspect of being truthful. You are, for example, having another attribute which is positive attribute, but it is only limited to one aspect. But this aspect and this attribute and trait of muruwah or futuwah is having different aspects. Manifestation of this attribute can become different attributes in your life. It sometimes can become being sadiq, being truthful. Sometimes it can manifest in modesty. Sometimes it can manifest as generosity in your life, etc., etc. So what is this futuwah? Futuwah, or the fityatun that I mentioned from the Quran, is a word which literally means the young age. So the verse that I mentioned in front of you is mentioning the Ashabul Kahf as people who were young people. It's very interesting when we are referring to the ahadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wa salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. We receive these sort of ahadith where Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wa salam are explaining that the Ashabul Kahf were not young people. They were elderly people. Our sixth Imam is explaining that those people were elderly people. What you call those people were imzays, yeah? Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when mentioning them, mentions them with the word of young people. How it became like this? So this discussion comes in, that since they were having the attribute and trait of futuwah, that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning them as young people. Let me give an example over here. Sometimes you are starting a business or a job. So the moment you are starting your job, let's say you are starting a job in share markets, or you are starting a job or a business, let's say in spare parts, etc., or any other field. When after, let's say, 1 or 2 years, I'm asking you, Brother Altaf, how old are you in this field? What would be your answer? Your answer would be, let's say, the amount of quality time that you've spent in that job, the amount of quality time that you've spent in that field, in that business, that is the amount of your age. You can say, I am 2 years old, let's say, in that business. The amount of quality time that you are spending in a field, that is your life in that field. You are a businessman only for 2 years old. Let's say if I'm starting my journey of becoming a scholar from last 2 or 3 years, and I have spent each and every moment of my life for 3 years in this field. I can say I'm scholar and I'm 3 years old scholar. 3 years old student rather, because after 3 years nobody becomes scholar. Let's say you are working in an office. I'm asking you, are you an architect? You are saying, yes, I'm an architect. How old are you in that field? You will be saying, the amount of quality time that I spent in this field is 2 years. Or let's say 5 years. So you are 5-year-old architect. Sometimes it is a specific field that you are talking about, which is related to your body or your physical existence. Sometimes it is related to your spiritual life. You know, it happens many a times. We are old enough in our physical body, but we are very child. We are a kid when it comes to a spiritual attribute. You are 35 years old, 40 years old, but what about your salah? Are you also musalli as 35 years old? No, I'm not. Because I missed my 10 years of salah in the beginning. You are 40 years old. Are you old enough in your sadaqah, in your truthfulness as well? No, I'm not. Because I have not spent enough time in this field. You are old enough in your body, but you are not old enough in your spiritual attributes. It is same as when you are doing a workout, and let's say you always are going to, let's say, JSP and doing the only one hand exercise or one leg exercise. After 1 or 2 years, one of your hands would become very strong and the other is still weak. So in your existence, one aspect is your body. Your body becomes 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old. But what about your sabr? Do you have 50-year-old sabr as well? No, you don't have. Because the moment you see something which is going against your will, against your wish, you are becoming angry. So you are not 50 years old in your patience. So this is very important when it comes to the attributes of your spirit and your soul. You have to make a balance between your body and your spirit. Coming back to our discussion, sometimes we are a kid, a child, when it becomes to our spirit and soul. What do I mean by that? I mean, when it is being mentioned unconditionally, you have to look at an attribute which is there inside you unconditionally. If I ask you as a human being, what is the attribute which is unconditional for you inside you? The answer is the humanity inside you is unconditional. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the karama as a human being. This is unconditional inside you. So when an attribute is unconditional inside you, the amount of quality time that you are spending on your humanity, on your karama, the amount of karama that you are having inside you, the amount of dignity that you are having inside you, that is the age of your spirit. And when it comes to the futuwa, like I said before, futuwa means a person who's young. At the time, till the time you are still a kid, a child in terms of humanity, in terms of dignity, you are not mature enough. But the moment you are becoming young, you are 15 years old Kareem, you are having karama. You are 15 years old having the dignity. You are 20 years old having the humanity. that is the moment you can be entitled as a young person, both in your physical aspect and your spiritual aspect. This is something which we can entitle as the futuwa. That means a person who is young. What does it mean, who's young? Whose spirit is also young. Who can understand what is the dignity, who can understand what is the humanity, who will act in accordance with humanity, who will act in accordance with the attributes and traits which are there for a human being as a human being. Not as a Muslim, not as a Christian, not as a Jew, but as a human being. This is called futuwa. This is called muruwa. And many ahadith are there where we see if a person is even not a practical Muslim, if a person even he is not a believer, it is highly recommended to remain a person who's having the muruwa and futuwa. To remain a young person in relation to both the body and the spirit. Spiritually and physically. This is very much important. Many ahadiths are there and anecdotes are there. I will not go deep into the discussions, but only some of the discussions over here. So like I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names those elderly people, Ashab-e Kahf, as young people. Why? Because their iman, their spirit, I'm not titling as iman over here, though iman is also one of the outcomes and the results of becoming young spiritually. When a person becomes young spiritually, the iman in the Creator, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will consequently come into his heart, into her heart. So here we have a number of ahadith insisting and emphasizing the importance and significance of this trait of futuwa and muruwa. Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam mentions that لا ترفع حاجتك إلا إلى أحد ثلاثة إلى ذي دين أو مروة أو حسب. Imam says, do not take your needs except to three people. Number one, a person who's having a deen, who's mu'min, who's a religious person, because he will help you because of the religion, because he believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, he says, if you are not taking your needs to a religious person, take your needs to a person who's having muruwa, who is having futuwa. Because if he is human enough, if he is having dignity, he will help you. He will resolve your problem, though he is not believing in Allah. And then the third one is the hasab. Not going into it, but the thing that was important to us was this phrase that you take your hajat, take your needs to a person who's what? Who's having dignity, who's having humanity, who is having muruwa and futuwa. And then we have this hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. That he says, Muruwatuna ahlul bayt al-afwu amman zalamna wa i'ta'u man haramna. Now this question comes in that how would we understand whether we are having futuwa or not? There are a number of manifestations for that you can identify that these are the signs whether you are having futuwa or not. Two of the signs are mentioning in this hadith are being mentioned, that al-afwu amman zalamna, that the Prophet said, these are the signs of our futuwa, that we will forgive a person who is doing injustice to us. Please keep this in mind, that we are talking about the individual dhulm over here. But when it comes to the dhulm on Islam, dhulm on the society, Ahlul Bayt never ever left this thing behind, that we are not going to support or we are not going to stand for the dhulm that is being done to the society or the collective people or the Muslim Ummah, for example, or the Islam itself. So if individually, though Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam were being oppressed in a matter, they used to forgive. Number two, he says, إِعْطَاءُ مَنْ حَرَمْنَا. The person who's not giving to us, who's not generous enough towards us, we will give him. This is the sign of our futuwa. There are a number of other signs as well. Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wasalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When Muawiyah asked him, what is the sign for futuwa? He replied, there are 3 signs for futuwa. That you have to look after your religion. You have to be very careful about your religion. And also in many hadith I saw, looking after your presence in masjid, coming to masjid is one of the signs for a person who's having futuwa. Because I said, if a person is having futuwa, he will be mindful towards his religion and his religious duties. Number 2, he says to look after the wealth that you make, whether it's coming from a halal way or not. This is the sign for a person who's having the futuwa. Number 3, to look after the rights of the people. If you are mindful enough and considering the rights of other people, you are having the muruwa. So these are the signs, and there are many other manifestations. Because of the time, I'm not going into the discussions. Only one anecdote over here. There was a person who used to do the charity and used to feed needy people. So there were some needy people used to come to his place on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. So those fuqara, those needy and poor people used to come to this house. One day another person was invited to the dinner or lunch, etc. So he also participated in the food. When he was finishing his food, there was a female servant, a woman, came to them and she was pouring the water in order to make them wash their hands. So all of a sudden this new person, he said, it is against my dignity that I wash my hands while a woman is pouring a water. It's not in coherence with my dignity. I'm not going to do this. I'm not taking any favor from a woman. Then the people who are coming from before, who were you would say the usual people used to visit this place, they replied, do you think this is the dignity, that you are not taking any favor from a woman? Let me tell you what is dignity. Dignity is that I am coming from last 10 years to this house and having food and washing my hands every time, but I did not know that a woman is pouring the water, because I was always looking at the down. So this is the dignity. Sometimes you are showing your dignity with respect. Sometimes you are showing your dignity with modesty. Sometimes you are showing your dignity and this trait of futuwa with what? With generosity. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a tawfiq to become a person who's considering and mindful of the futuwa and muruwa in his life. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Again, when it comes to the futuwa, one of the things that we see in futuwa is that when the matter of enmity comes in, when you are enemy to someone or to some people, if a person is having futuwa, he will be very nice when it comes to enmity. When you are angry to someone, when you are upset with someone, you will still show your dignity, your futuwa at that time. Also in the bracket, that dignity is having some other concept. I'm not talking about dignity today. It's a broader level concept in relation to dignity, which I'm talking about today, which is futuwa. Some other time maybe we will be talking about dignity as well. So futuwa, one of the examples that we can see is about the Battle of Siffin. When the troops of Muawiyah, they got the hold on water, the places where the water was. They said, we are not going to give the water to the companions of Imam Ali because we have the hold of the water. Then there is a complete discussion in history that Imam Ali started discussions with Muawiyah that maybe we can discuss the thing and resolve the things without having any battle or fight. But they did not accept, and then the battle started, etc. And after some time, Imam Ali and the companions, they got the hold on the lands where the water was. At that time, the people who were with Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, they said, this is our time. Now we are not going to give the water to them. But Imam Ali said, no. This is out of our dignity that we are having this, the hold of this land, and we are enemy to them right now. We are fighting with them, but still in this enmity, we are going to give the water to them. The same way we can see when it came to the matter where Imam Hussein was confronted by the troops of Hur. At that time also, Imam knew that these people are enemy to them. But still, Imam gave the water to them. So when it comes to the matter of fight, battle, enmity, even then, if a person is having the futuwa, I don't know whether you are familiar with the word which we normally use it in Urdu, and we say Jawa Mard. Jawa Mardi, ye muruwwat o futuwat kehlati hai. So if a person is having the futuwa and muruwa, then even when it is a battle, and many examples are there, I'm not going to deep into the discussions of those battles, even then you can see this futuwa and muruwa can come. And you can show that you are a human being. And you can show that you are a modest person. You can show that you are a person who's having the karama, the dignity, etc. But sometimes we see, though there are people in today's world, when it comes to the matter of battle, when it comes to the matter of fighting, and when it comes to the matter of enmity, they are not considering any type of futuwa. They are attacking on the kids. They are attacking and killing women. They are attacking the people who are civilians without any weapon, without any shield. You know, when it comes to some specific lands, you could say that, okay, we are in fight with those people. And what about the people who, yesterday we got the news that at least 83 people were martyred and more than 200 people were injured in Kerman, in Iran. So these are the coward acts where some groups of the people, they are attacking on civilians. So when it comes to the enmity, be brave enough to fight in front of the people who you think that they are your enemy. But bombing the people who are irrelevant to the discussion, irrelevant to your enmity, you're just bombing them. This is the act against the muruwa, against the humanity, against the very innate nature and dignity of a human being. So this is something we have to consider at this time. So yeah, these acts in the situation that we are having right now, we all understand that every act of theirs, every movement that they are doing it because they want to distract people from the main fight over there, because they are losing. They want to do every last effort to distract the people, that they are not losing. The same tools that they were thinking that they can use against us, those tools like media, like social media, now is the biggest threat and tool and weapon against themselves. So this is the reality of our world. May Allah give us tawfiq that when it comes to the matter of enmity, when it comes to matter of a battle, when it comes to matter of a fight, may Allah give us futuwa and muruva and make us brave enough that we can stand in front of our enemies and fight with them, not to attack on them from behind. Insha'Allah ta'ala. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. صل على محمد وآله. اللهم صل على سيدنا ونبينا وشفيع المذنبين محمد، وصل على وليه ووصيه أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب، وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين فاطمة الزهراء، وعلى سبطي نبي الرحمة الحسن والحسين، وعلى علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. اللهم صل على الحجة الثاني عشر بقية الله المنتظر مولانا صاحب الزمان. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات، تابع بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمد رسول الله، أشهد أن محمد رسول الله، أشهد أن عليا ولي الله،